Hello, everyone. Welcome back from the weekend. We're going to continue studying sealed bids method, and this time we are going to introduce the concept of cash. All right, so we've been doing sealed bids method with just strictly items that have a certain monetary value to certain people, but sometimes in an inheritance or in an estate, there's also just a bit of cash. For instance, if you were inheriting something from a deceased relative, maybe they had a savings account at the bank that just had money in it, or something like that. So sometimes we need to factor in just straight up money. And some things that you should know about the money is that everyone values the money the same, right? So $200 in cash is worth $200 to everyone, right? So there's no debating the value of cash in this scenario. All right. And as we go through the sealed bids process, I'll talk about where the cash tends to have an impact on things and how we handle it a little bit differently. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started here. And it should be a very familiar problem. You saw this on the quiz last week with the social studies teachers that are inheriting some crap from a teacher that is retiring, which is always nice when they bestow that kind of stuff upon you and say, hey, can you take care of my stuff? Or maybe you would like it. And, in the desk drawer, they found $220 in cash money. All right, so they decide to use the sealed bids method to allocate the fair shares. All right, now on the quiz, I told you guys for the holding pile row, when you get there, if you are going to pay into the holding pile, the number that you enter should be positive, indicating a positive amount going into the pile. If you are getting money from the holding pile, it should be negative, indicating that the pile is losing money. Okay, so let's give this a try here. So we've got our four teachers, Scarlett, Stock, McMenamin, and Coach Jackson, and they inherit the remains of a mummy, Mr. Neitzel's autograph, and Little Porgies for Life gift certificate. All right, and you have their bids. So they all bid what they think the value of the items are worth. Recall that they cannot see each other's bids. Those are private. That's why they call it sealed bids. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and total up their values right here. And remember how I said this said total of bids and cash. Okay, so when I add this up, I'm going to include the cash in their total now. All right, so I'm going to do 340 plus 610 plus 320 plus the cash amount, which was $220. So this is what we say is the total value of everything in the estate in Scarlett's eyes. Okay, so this includes the cash. So $1,490 is the total of everything in Scarlett's eyes. Okay, and then we would do the same thing for Stock. We would add up Stock's three bids plus the $220 in cash, and we would get $1,260 for Stock. We would do the same thing for McMenamin. So her total value would be $1,190, and Jackson's total value would be $1,660 for the estate. Now, to calculate a fair share, if Scarlett thinks everything is worth $1,490 and there are four people in the division, he would be entitled to 1/4 of this amount. So we would take $1,490 and we would divide it by 4. Okay, so I come over here. So here's my $1,490 divided by 4, and you get $372.50. So that would be his fair share. This is the amount of value in things or cash that he would need to walk away with to be happy at the end of this division. All right, and we got to repeat the process for our other three social studies teachers here. So Stock would only be happy if he received $315 worth of things in cash, and McMenamin would only be happy if she received $297.15. And I wrote that kind of sloppy there. And Jackson would only be happy if he received $415 worth of things in cash. All right, so now we got to go through and figure out, okay, well, who gets what items? Remember, if you bid the highest on a particular item, you are going to get that item. So we go through here and we look at the mummy, and Scarlett had the highest bid on the mummy with $340, so he's going to get the mummy. Then I'm going to go and look at Mr. Neitzel's autograph here, and Coach Jackson is a big Chuck Neitzel fan, so he bid $840. He's going to get that autograph. Chuck's autograph. I'm going to abbreviate a little bit there, and then we're going to go to Little Porgies for Life gift certificate, and I'm looking at the highest bid here. Mr. Stock loves him some Little Porgies, so he's going to get that gift certificate. So he gets the Little Porgies, and McMenamin is not going to get any of the items. That's okay. We'll take care of her later. All right, so now we got to figure out the holding pile. And on the quiz, when I was looking through your work, this is where most people started to fall apart. We got through the first three things here, and then figuring out what goes into the holding pile proved to be difficult for you guys, so pay attention here. All right, Scarlett got the mummy. The mummy was worth $340. Okay, that is less than his fair share. Okay, so when I subtract these two numbers, that's the fair share and his value of the mummy, we get $32.50. Since his item is worth less than the fair share, he's going to receive $32.50 from the holding pile, so that would be a negative $32.50. So you take the items received and you take the value of the item received and the fair share, you subtract and find the difference. If it's less than the fair share, you're going to put in a negative number. If it's more than the fair share, you're going to put a positive number. All right, let's do it again for Stock. Stock got the Little Porgies. That was worth $870 in his eyes. His fair share was $315. So he got something that was worth way more than his fair share. So he's going to pay money into the holding pile. In fact, he's going to pay $555 into the holding pile, and that's going to be positive because he's paying it in to the holding pile. So the holding pile receives $555. Okay, now McMenamin, right? She didn't receive any items, so she's going to receive her fair share from the holding pile. So she gets $297.15 from the holding pile. All right, then we do the same thing for Jackson over here. You got Chuck's autograph, and that was worth $840, which is way more than his fair share. So we subtract the two, and we find out that he's going to pay $425 into the holding pile. Okay, now we got to figure out how much money is in the holding pile. So I'm going to take these four numbers and I'm going to add them together. Okay, so we're going to take negative 32.5 plus 555 minus 297.15 plus 425, and then remember that cash, there was that cash there in the beginning, that automatically goes into the holding pile after everyone does their bids, right? So that $220 was already sitting in the holding pile, so I got to add the $220 in cash that they found in his desk drawer. Okay, so now we hit enter, and the total amount of money that's in the holding pile here is $870.35. There we go. And that money that is remaining in the holding pile has to be split evenly between the four teachers. So we're just going to take it and divide by 4. There we go. And we get 217.5875. So money only goes to the penny, so we'd look at 5.9. Right, so that share is going to be 217.59. So $217.59 is the share that they would receive from each of the holding piles, or for each of the teachers. All right, so now we're ready to calculate that final settlement. All right, so when we do the final settlement, all we got to do, we got to look at what item they received, and then look at what happened with the holding pile and the share of the holding pile. So they got money, then they got money again, and you add it all up to get a total value. So down here at the bottom, we're just going to indicate the total value of their settlement. Okay, so I'll do one here with you. So Scarlett got the mummy. And then he also got $32.50 from the holding pile. I know it's confusing with the negative, but remember, a negative indicates that he received money from the holding pile. And then he got another $217.59. Okay, so this describes what he got. Now we're just going to total it up. So remember, the mummy was worth $340, and then he got $32.50, and then he got another $217.59. So his total value is $590.09. Right, $590.09. Looks good. And then I like to compare that to the fair share. So remember, his fair share was $372.50. He got way more than his fair share, so Scarlett is going to walk away happy. All right, and we do the same thing for stock here. He got little porgies, and then he paid $555, so we would subtract $555, and then he received the $217.59. All of them are going to receive that $217.59 in the end here, right? So I'm going to add these up. Remember, little porgies was worth $870, so I'm going to go $870 minus $555 plus the $217.59. So total value here is $532.59. And that is way more than stock's fair share, so stock is also going to walk away from this happy. Now, McMenamin, she didn't get any items, but she got $297.15 from the holding pile, and then she got another $217.59 from the holding pile. So when I add those together, we get $514.74. Okay, and that is more than her fair share, so she's going to be happy. And then we go over here and we do Coach Jackson. Coach Jackson got Neitzel's autograph. Abbreviate that. And then he paid $425, so we'll subtract $425, and then he received $217.59. Okay, so we got to add those three things together. Remember, Mr. Neitzel's autograph was worth $840 according to Jackson, and then he paid the $425, and then he got the $217.59 for a grand total of $632.50. $0.59. Sorry. There we go. All right, that finishes it up. Everyone's going to walk away happy with what they got there because it's all worth more than their fair shares. So just to kind of recap what happened with that cash, remember the cash factored into this part right here, and I'll highlight these. The cash factored in here when we did the total of our bids in cash, which then affected the fair share, and then it popped up again when we did the total in the holding pile. Okay. So when we did that total, because that once we do the total of the bids in cash, we just throw that 220 in the holding pile, and then we wait to figure all this out, and we get these numbers right here, the holding pile numbers, plus the 220 to get our total. Okay, so really it only affects two parts of the process. All right, guys, that's it. Hopefully you found that helpful. If you have any questions, make sure you come back to the Zoom chat and let me know. Have a great day.